Thank you so much, Jason. Wasn't it good to sing together? Now we get to engage in yet another spiritual practice of decision-making. Now, again, polity is theology. It's one of the ways that we express our living tradition. We say that we make decisions together that bind us and commit us to action. And so that's exactly what we're doing with responsive resolutions. Responsive resolutions are intended to respond to a substantive part of any report that has been presented to the General Assembly. Today we have 3 that will come before us. Some important things to know about responsive resolutions is they are binding only on the delegates of this General Assembly. They commit you to the specific actions in them, and when they direct action to the board, they're more informative necessarily than they're directive. So keep that in mind. They require a 2/3 vote in order to be adopted by the General Assembly. And the very first thing we're going to do is add them onto the agenda. So if you have not had a chance to look over the responsive resolutions, we do not have them in paper form. They are available on your app. They are also available electronically at the website. So I'll give you a second to bring them up if you're not already looking at them. Maybe you've printed them off. You're allowed to print them off yourself. That's fine. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Yes, please. Carl Ponanen from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing. I remembered at that time. Just as a point of personal privilege, many of us don't carry these expensive electronic devices around. Some of us can't afford them in the budget we have, or we have other priorities with the small amount of money that we have. Is there some way that these can be made accessible for the rest of us? I can even give you $1 or $2 if it'll cover the cost of printing.
Okay, they'll just say it. So we are working to put them on the screen. So there's 3, remember? So all 3 can't go on the screen at the same time. All righty? So just give a moment so they can have time to read, and then the next one will come. Is that okay? Okay. There's not 4, there are 3.
Yes, there are only 3. One has been withdrawn. It was one that directed a similar action as another one of the responsive resolutions. The only ones that you will find on the website or in the app are the 3. If you have a question, I need you to come to the microphone. Are there questions? I hear yelling, but I don't hear questions.
So there are 4. One is going to be withdrawn because it's similar to the other. That's the thing about
Hi.
I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Oops. Sally Geller, Central Unitarian Church, Paramus, New Jersey. I apologize. I was coming to ask the question. I thought you were answering it. Which point of information, which resolution has been withdrawn? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There were 2 resolutions submitted regarding an 8th principle study commission. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
To clarify, to help you all, because you all aren't on your devices up there, on the app, there are 4. 1 is highlighted in yellow. I'm going to make an assumption that that is the one that has been withdrawn. No.
Can you give us the title?
I absolutely will.
Yes, that's actually true.
It says amendment to study commission to review and possibly propose updates to the principle and purposes in article, and it is highlighted in yellow. It is page 3. So if you're looking on the app, on mine, it is page 3, it's highlighted in yellow. That is the one that has been withdrawn. Excellent.
Could the delegate please introduce herself?
Christina Rivera, Director of Administration and Finance at the congregation in UU Charlottesville and on the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
My name is Pat Eggenberger, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County. I was not able to get it big enough. I'm visually impaired, and I was not able to make it big enough on my application. I tried to turn it sideways, and I still couldn't get it big enough. I can't read it on the screen. So in the future, I would like you to have some copies available for the visually impaired.
Okay, so we're learning together, and we are learning about the limitations in the complex balance between environmental sustainability and accessibility, especially when it comes to vision. We erred on one side, and we knew that might be an issue. So we are doing our best to address this in the moment. What I would suggest is that if you have printed out copies and you have large printed them, if you could share them with someone who maybe doesn't have it and would like to have it in paper format, you can review them together. We are also putting them up on the screen. We'll give about, let's do 2 minutes on each one, and then we'll continue. Okay, so right now we're reading Combating Escalating Inequality. Let's make that full screen, please.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to read it out loud for people who cannot see it, since I'm one who needs giant type too. Whereas Tom Andrews of the UUSC said that he cannot think of a time when UU values were more under attack than they are today. Whereas Mr. Andrews exhorted us to take vigorous and sustained action to protect and further those values. Whereas the delegates of this 2017 General Assembly approved a statement of conscience regarding escalating economic inequality. Whereas the causes of escalating inequality intersect with the effects of white supremacy. Therefore, be it resolved that the 2017 General Assembly calls on the UUA Board of Trustees and UUA staff to appoint a committee to help coordinate, strategize, and advise congregations on how to address effectively these deep-seated cultural issues. All righty? That was that one. Check one. Next. So can we, oh, perfect. Okay. Okay.
Appointment of a study commission to consider adding an 8th principle to Article 2, Principles and Purposes, Section C-2.1. Whereas the interim co-president's report and the report of the Board of Trustees both address the issues of white supremacy and intersecting forms of oppression, and whereas the delegates of the 2017 General Assembly believe that such issues are sufficiently important to be specifically addressed in the UUA bylaws, principles, and purposes. Therefore, be it resolved that the delegates to the 2017 General Assembly call for the board to appoint a study commission to discuss adding an 8th principle that may be stated as below. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions.
And here's the third one. Making the Standing on the Side of Love campaign more inclusive. Whereas the Journey to Wholeness Transformation Committee report identifies Unitarian Universalism as a movement, has made progress in anti-oppression work, but still has work to do. Whereas part of the work we Unitarian Universalists need to do is make our justice campaign, Standing on the Side of Love, more inclusive. Whereas use of the word standing as default language, justice language, places a high value on the justice work and commitments of able-bodied people, while it makes invisible and excludes the justice work of people with a wide range of disabilities and autistic people. Whereas Unitarian Universalist principles call for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and whereas our faith calls us to consider the impact of our words and to take action and engage with ableism in the creation of a beloved community, therefore, be it resolved that the 2017 General Assembly calls upon the leaders of the UUA Standing on the Side of Love campaign to create a new imagining that better includes and reflects the needs and contributions of disabled people.
Thank you, Tri-Moderator Alandria, for a compassionate compromise. I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic.
This question is from Alan Lindrup, First Unitarian Society of Chicago. Are responsive resolutions open to amendment, or must they be voted up or down as initially written?
They are open for amendment after an initial period of conversation has elapsed. In our rules, we have allotted 15 minutes for that, or until no one else is standing at the microphones off-site or in person. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Hello, Jackie Phelps of the UU Fellowship of Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm told this is a point of privilege. As a person with a disability, I would suggest we change autistic people to people with autism. And disabled people as either people with disabilities or people who are differently abled. The disability or condition does not define who the person is.
So that is helpful information. It's not quite a point of personal privilege. Those were moving amendments. I know. It's the ruling of the chair, not necessarily the tellers, all right? So the ruling of the chair is that's not a point of personal privilege. When the time is appropriate, we could make it an amendment, and the chair might be inclined to believe that is a clarifying amendment rather than a substantive change based on contemporary language. So we'll see what happens when we get there. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Good afternoon, Moderator Greg. I have a point of information. I'm Deborah Boyd from the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus, Ohio, and a member of the General Assembly Planning Committee. We have a limited number of copies of the responsive resolutions. So if those folks who truly cannot share with their neighbor and this is a necessary piece, we have those in the hall. So
where would we be able to find those?
In my hand.
All right. So folks who do need a paper copy, if you're able to make it toward the front, or it looks like we have some folks raising their hands.
I will go hand deliver.
All right, they will be hand delivered. Before I recognize the next delegate at the procedural mic, I want to remind you that we have not yet added these to the agenda, and so we're not even having the conversation on the responsive resolutions themselves. Well, it depends on, do we want to take action on these responsive resolutions? Yeah? Okay, so we have to do another thing first. Okay. All right. So you can stay there. You can stay there. You don't have to go away. Is there another procedural question that does not deal directly with the things we already want to discuss? Okay, so let's first add the 3 responsive resolutions that you've had a chance to read or have read to you. Deborah is still making some rounds. Deborah is all finished making those rounds. I'm getting a signal. And so we're going to add these to the agenda. That takes a simple majority vote. And I'm going to give our tech deck a little time to tee up the off-site delegates, to whom I owe an apology. Yesterday, I said something indelicate and inappropriate that we could determine a majority just by the folks that were in the hall. And that was experienced by some of our off-site delegates as dismissive and made them feel like their votes don't count. Every delegate's vote counts, and I am deeply sorry for the pain that I caused by indicating that the on-site delegate vote was more important than the off-site delegate vote. We do not make decisions without consulting the entire vote. And to the off-site delegates, I also want you to know that your votes are archived because they're electronic. And so we have more control, so we can always go back and revisit your votes in a way that we don't have the same ability to do inside the hall. So I want you to know that not only do your votes matter, but that we can experience them differently if we need to. I am sorry. Okay, so let's get our voting cards out. Off-site delegates, let's get ready. All those in favor of adding the 3 responsive resolutions to our agenda, please indicate by raising your delegate cards now. Can I have some help from my tri-moderators in determining this? All those opposed to adding the responsive resolutions to the agenda, indicate so by raising your voting card now. Please close the queue for the off-site delegates. Off-site delegate vote. That clearly passes. All right, so now we have some responsive resolutions to discuss. I'm going to hand it over to Tri-Moderator Elandria, who will be taking, in order, we will go with standing on the side of love first, combating income inequality, or escalating income inequality, and then the 8th principle one. And we have someone at the procedural mic.
So before we get there, I want to remind you of a statement I said yesterday. If we can repeat after me. Impact over grammar. So responsive resolutions, one more time. We are talking about the context of the resolution, what it means in all of its ways, not the exact words, not the words we might use, but what it's saying as a whole. Are we on the same page? Great. So I want to remind us yet again, 15 minutes conversation. If no one stands at the mics for 5 minutes because they're ready to go, after 5 minutes of discussion, we can vote, and we will have more time. So here's what I would love people to do. Have people read the Standing on the Side of Love campaign, inclusive? We've said it out loud. We're going to start the clock. Take 2 minutes and just talk to your neighbor about what this means for you. 2 minutes. Talk to your neighbor about what it means for you, and then we're going to ask people to come to the pro mic. I have an additional change mic, and if there's any procedural.
Well, I wanted to know if to do the amendments, they said they don't have forms, so do I have to just do it audibly? They said they don't have forms.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing here, because I would like to make that amendment.
Right. Yes.
About the language, because I think people first language is really important.
I don't have that answer at the moment, but it would be definitely a procedural question. So
I just want
think
to
that,
do it the right way.
Yeah, so I think that at 2 minutes,
I can do that.
You can do that. I may go and ask right now so that you have a question or an answer. And
Right.
then, so you would like to know if, because there's no amendment forms.
How do
if-
I make an amendment?
Yeah.
How do I propose an amendment?
Yeah.
I would like to know.
Let me make sure there's no.
Because they said, oh no, that's just for commissioners. So how do I make an amendment?
Hi, Sally Jane. How are you?
Back again.
All right.
All righty, so I want to make 2 announcements to begin with. First, if you want to do an amendment, amendment forms are coming, and please stop by the tech deck, the amendment table right here, and let them know in advance so that they can type it up. All righty, that's 1. And 2, someone asked yesterday, and we forgot to say it, that when we see the off-site delegates, that's the off-site delegates. That's not you all. It's not percentages of who's in the House here. It's the percentages of the off-site delegates. All righty? All righty. So I recognize, well, maybe. Okay. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Thank you, Madam Tri-Moderator. My name is Reverend Teresa Inez Soto. I am the... Thank you, friends. I am the interim minister at our UU congregation in Flint, Michigan. I am here to offer this resolution that we, as a movement, and especially this UUA administration, consider a period of reflection for renaming our justice campaign, Standing on the Side of Love. Some people will say, hey, that's a really good slogan. Are you getting rid of it? Don't you know it's a metaphor? But I want us to call to mind the words of Universalist theologian Louis Fisher Beals. He said this: people often ask where Universalists stand on this issue or that. But the only true answer to this question is that we do not stand, we move. Today, with this resolution, we can consider how to broaden our welcome, how to value all kinds of work and all kinds of bodies. And General Assembly, today I'm asking you to rise up, to move toward this kind of action. Thank you. I love you.
I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic, off-site delegate.
Off-site delegate Marietta Tubman from UU Fellowship of Redwood City in California. Can someone explain, I believe she's asking a point of information. Okay. Can someone explain why autism is singled out and how it relates, standing on the side being exclusionary language?
So, Teresa, would you like to answer the question? Teresa's going to answer the question. She's coming back up. They are coming back up.
Thank you, friends, for this question. It comes directly from community. People with autism have said, don't call us that like you would people with disabilities. Don't call us people with autism because it's part of us, like our hair or our eye color. And we want to be known as having this with us all the time. Now, the difference is that when you see me in my scooter, you know I have a physical disability. Often I have to advocate for myself to be treated as a person. If your disability is different, then that person piece might not be appropriate for you. But I'm the reason I'm using that language specifically is because that's what people have asked for.
I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
My name is Michael Scott. I am a delegate from the First Universalist Church of Rochester, New York. As an able-bodied white male, I approach the microphone with considerable trepidation. As a lover of poetry and religious language, however, I am afraid that almost any metaphor of human interaction with the world will speak to abilities that not all people share, since it is with our senses and our bodies that we all interact with the world. Open my eyes that I may see. Lift up mine eyes unto the hills. But what if I cannot see? Now the ears of my ears awake. But what if I cannot hear? Women who run with the wolves. But what of those who cannot run? We just sang a beautiful new version of Jason Shelton's inspiring hymn, but still we sang of hands joined together on a bright new day. What of those who lack hands, or for whom the brightness as a metaphor for good is an echo of white supremacy? I do not want in any way to belittle the pain that language so frequently causes. And again, I am very conscious of being myself in the privileged group. But I ask that we consider the possibility that prioritizing inclusiveness may sometimes undermine our ability to powerfully articulate our faith.
I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
I'm the Reverend Suzanne Fast, community minister affiliated with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fort Myers, Florida, and the most recent president of Equal Access. I speak in support of this proposed responsive resolution. The problem is not simply about othering and the effect that has on me and so many people, although that effect is real. And I would have thought that alone would be sufficient reason to change it. But it is also about structural ableism and reinforcing attitudes that able or normative bodies and minds are superior to the rest of us. Our faith's public witness campaign should be a leader in confronting structural oppression, and instead we have been justifying it. This week, we have been celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Women in Religion Resolution, a resolution which in its content called for looking at the language, re-examining the language that we use because it perpetuated sexism. Now is the time for us to begin to do this work about ableism.
Is there a delegate at the procedure mic? I recognize a delegate at the procedure mic.
My name is James Merrill. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura, and I understood the explanation of why the term autistic people was used in that order, and I understood the logic of wanting not to be included with other people with disabilities. I still do not understand, and I would like a clarification of the language or the rationale. Why are autistic people listed at all? Because autism has nothing to do with the ability to stand or not. My autistic daughter is perfectly capable of standing, and I don't understand the inclusion there.
I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Thank you for this question. One of the things that we are examining as we dig in here is the fact that it's not just about standing or sitting. When I tell you that, I promise that it's true. One of the things that this language reinforces is a hierarchy in which able bodies are fantastic and disabled bodies are okay. And that's if we get that. In the way that the labor and the activism and the support of autistic people is devalued and dehumanized within our movement, That's why we're together in community on this.
I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Yes, my name's Erin White from Fourth Universalist Society in the city of New York. And my question is a further point of clarification, specifically around, I do understand the argument and explanation appreciated of why the phrase autistic people instead of people with autism. But I don't understand still why specifically autistic people are named here and not people with other types of invisible disabilities. As a person who has post-traumatic stress disorder, that often affects my ability to participate in justice-oriented actions. And so unless we're gonna name everyone that has invisible disabilities, I wanna understand why just one type.
Alrighty, I recognize the delegate at the pro mic. There was a question. There was a procedural question.
Thank you for that question. The language that I use to indicate this is a wide range of disabilities. I think that a feasible amendment is to include specifically the word non-apparent or invisible. But that's why it says a wide range, because it's not just about one kind or another.
You know I can't hear you, so you have to actually come back to the mic. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Yes, Erin White again from 4th U. So I really don't want to belabor the point. I just do want to understand why one specific type of disability was named when others are not. Because I think it's exclusionary to folks who have others, and I feel that way about it.
And so I think the suggestion was maybe to do a friendly amendment.
Okay, because I just didn't understand that to be
that was one of the suggestions.
Answer, but okay, thank you. I will do that.
Right. Okay, I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
My name is Reverend Finley C. Campbell with the First Unitarian Church Christian Group. I am not fellowshipped by UUMA, but I am fellowshipped by UUCF. I call for the rejection of this amendment or resolution, not because I don't believe in love, but because we have not shown love to a brother who has been pained in more ways than one. We were told to look at the context. The context is about love. No love has been shown to my brother, Peter Morales, who made a simple or horrible mistake, however you want to call it, and was, in my opinion, driven from office by hateful and cruel language.
So I'm
How
sorry,
can we speak
this
of
is
love
actually out of
when
order.
Peter Morales
So
himself
I'm
has
sorry,
been cut back,
and I
that's
honor
all right.
your opinion, but this is not about that. This is about, if you have something you would like to say about this particular responsive resolution, we would love to hear it. Okay. But I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Reverend Dawn Fortune, and I am the interim minister at a Yoked Ministry in Greater St. Louis, at the Emerson UU Chapel, and at the First Unitarian Church of Alton, Illinois. My pronouns are they and them. I am genderqueer, and I am here representing TRUST, the Transgender Religious Professional Unitarian Universalists Together. We officially endorse this responsive resolution written by one of our members and call on those gathered here to pass it. On Friday, we affirmed here in this hall that one of the sources of our UU principles is not only words and deeds of prophetic women and men, but words and deeds of prophetic people of all genders. I lost my place. Including non-binary people. We affirmed that the intention of the wording Unitarian Universalism's second source was to be inclusive, but that the yardstick had moved and that we are called now to a new affirmation and articulation of inclusivity. Now is the time for us to do the same thing with respect to the name of the most visible social justice campaign in our faith's history. Those who named the campaign did not intend to exclude people with disabilities, yet for 8 years, many people have spoken out about the harm and the hurt it does for such a powerful and prophetic campaign to have this name. On Friday, we answered the call of love to create more inclusivity by changing some really important words. Today, Trust asks you to do that again. Vote to open a discernment process that will lead to a new name for the campaign that represents the best and brightest of our faith's justice efforts, to one that truly embodies the values of this campaign. Honor the prophetic words and deeds of people of all genders who stand, walk, roll, and sit on the side of love. Thank you.
I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
I'm Karen Griffin. I come from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice in Venice, Florida. I just have a point of question. This is a request for complete rebranding of a whole movement, which is going to cost money. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just wondering who is financially liable for this? Is it the UUA? Is it the movement? Or, I mean, there's nothing in here that mentions any of that responsibility. And I'm just wondering, is it financially feasible for the movement to do this?
So is there anybody here from the Standing on the Side of Love campaign? No one can hear you. So if someone is talking, I need you to come to a mic if you have an answer to the question. Yes.
Alandria?
Yes.
Is this on?
There we go. Thank you, Elizabeth. Can you stand at the procedure mic and not the amendment mic, please? Thank you. I know. Elizabeth went to the closest mic.
Appreciate
Can you please introduce yourself first?
Oh, yes, thank you. Elizabeth Wynn. I do some interim work right now with Standing on the Side of Love as spiritual sustenance advisor, and very grateful for all of this conversation and deep work and your moderation, Alandria. I'm afraid this is going to be an unsatisfying answer, which is that right now we are figuring out what we can say and commit to. I will say that, as Nora and I said when we spoke about the campaign yesterday, was it just yesterday? Yesterday morning, we feel like a change in language is past overdue. We are trying to figure out what we can say right now, given our governance. I know that's not very satisfying.
Okay, but that's fine. Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Reverend Madeline Campbell. I serve as interim minister of Bull Run Unitarian Universalists. I am speaking as a member of the board of the Unitarian Universalist Christian Fellowship. As a point of personal privilege and clarification, we do not offer fellowship to ministers.
Thank you. So I recognize the delegate at the con mic, offsite delegate. Nope. All righty. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic. So, oh, what am I missing? Oh, I thought you said no.
You asked for an offsite delegate. I do not have an offsite.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Carolina.
Madam Moderator, I'm Carolina Krivaric-Graham. I'm from the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and I am on the autism spectrum. Initially, I came to oppose this resolution, but I just feel it's not big enough. But one of the things I've learned here at this General Assembly is how white supremacy seeks to divide communities of color. As a white ally, I am often confused as to which leadership of color I should be following. And just what I've heard in the last few minutes, it is very, very clear to me that the leadership of Asia Hauser and Christina Rivera and the leaders in drum and whatever are the people who are leading this movement within Unitarian Universalism. I just want to say, I know I'm not kind of saying what I was going to say when I got up here, but I just want to say it's really, really clear to me who's leading this movement. So if any was confused about that throughout this General Assembly, I just want to say it's clear to me.
So are you speaking to this amendment?
I was speaking to the debate.
Do you have something you'd like to say about this amendment?
I'm no longer opposing it.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
I haven't gotten to make my amendment.
I recognize the next person to speak from the pro mic. I can't.
This is just a point of clarification.
Okay.
There's concern that the outcome of the resolution should be a specific change, but really it's a greater imagining that we're seeking. So if that means that we enter a period of reflection, that would meet the request.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic. The next delegate at the pro mic.
Hi, Meg Riley with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And the founding campaign director of Standing on the Side of Love. Life calls us on, y'all. Life calls us on. The tagline for Standing on the Side of Love is harnessing love's power to stop oppression, exclusion, and violence. So let's do that.
So I would like to remind everyone, are you at the con mic? Okay, I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
I will vote against this. As a person who can't always go to, I'm sorry, my name is Marie Hauk. I'm from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro, North Carolina. As a person who doesn't go to rallies and such because I can't count on my body to be cooperative. But the literal definition of stand, there are 20 in Merriam-Webster, only one of which has to do with physical ability. I don't believe in this case stand is a metaphor. I believe that it really means to take a stand, to take a position. And I believe that spending time and money to change that language, to change the logo, to change the t-shirts, is a waste of energy when we should be focusing on what we're actually doing.
Okay. So there's been an ask if the people who are going to suggest amendments can come to the amendment table so they can be consolidated and want to work with, if that is okay. Thank you. Because we're almost there. So if you could, perfect. We got it? Okay. All righty. So I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Barbara Myers from Mission Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Fremont, California. I have been working with Equal Access and the wonderful people that were involved ever since it was formed, and I'm in charge of establishing the Accessibility and Inclusion Ministry. I couldn't be prouder of the people that have spoken about taking action on making our social justice campaign more inclusive, and I encourage you to support it. Thank you.
I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
Hi, I'm Jeff Stein from Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. I, too, as an old white man, stand up here with a lot of trepidation like the fellow before me. I am a writer. I have spent my life in communications. I am, as I've listened so much to this, I have been so supportive of everything metaphorically and actually, as the woman before me said, in terms of all the definitions of standing on the side of love, have supported it. I am so concerned that we start to be picayune about the choice of words that we start to get into the area of censorship, that we are going to be tiptoeing on eggshells constantly, that this is going to become as the woman again before me said, a large and divisive and continually waste of energy when the metaphors that we are living by and acting on are there. I live by metaphor, and I become concerned when my denomination starts to strike those metaphors down.
So I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Carolina Crevard-Graham. I'm from the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I'm coordinating on an offsite Delegates for Allies for Racial Equity, and I have some of our offsite delegates saying that there's a slight delay, and they'd like to know, I know that the tech team is a little short today, and we grieve. Whom do they contact about that delay on the ground? That was the question sent to me.
So what I can do is just wait, pause, but go before we go. That I think would help.
I'm hoping that will be sufficient. Thank you so much.
Okay. So did everyone hear? Before we start, we need to pause before we go. I want to say one other thing about what it means to be doing this in a theological faith space. Everything we talk about actually impacts people in the room, right? So this is what I want to say. You see, I'm sitting here on this nice chair because I can't stand anymore. Is that for everything we're going to discuss today, when we and I come from a culture that claps a lot. It does mean, though, that it actually could say to somebody whether they're valued or not, even in our clapping. So for us to really hold tight to what does it mean to love everybody in this space regardless, and so that we're not saying, yay, we believe in you, but not really for however people believe. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm not saying to not show your appreciation, but just hold that we are in a faith movement with each other. And that means we show up differently than maybe we should in other places, although I think we should show up the same way there too. So we're going to take a 1 second pause. And I recognize a delegate from the, hold on, Rep Pro, right? No, procedure mic. There you go, Matthew McHale.
Thanks. Yes, I am the Reverend Matthew McHale. I serve Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Los Angeles. And I have a question, which is, does this responsive resolution say that we cannot use words like standing or looking or whatever the case may be in any case whatsoever, or does it only ask us to rename or to look at the possibility of renaming our justice campaign that so much of our justice work rests under?
It is just about renaming the justice campaign that our work sits under.
Great, then we should support it.
Okay.
Out of order.
Goodness gracious. So, are we at pro or con? Are we at pro or con? Con. I recognize the delegate from the con mic.
Sally Gellert, Central Unitarian Church, Paramus, New Jersey. I note that Serge had this conversation, and we're told that standing up for racial justice was okay. I also want to quote a lyric saying, sitting in and laying down are ways to take a stand, and also twinkles work instead of using time to applaud.
So I want to remind everybody that there are people that cannot hear well if everyone else is talking while they are. So if we can please make sure that everyone around us can hear at the same time. Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Thank you. My name is Alex Hader-Winnett. I'm a delegate from the First Unitarian Church of Oakland in beautiful downtown Oakland, California. Okay. Thank you. And I'm a student at the Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley. I approach the pro mic with an attitude of confession and contrition. From 2007 to 2009, I had the privilege and honor to serve in the Washington Office for Advocacy. And one of the roles I took on was to help Meg with the launch team. Now, in one of our early meetings, one of our members, Lisa Swanson, a beloved colleague with disabilities in their hands, mentioned that they thought that the language we were using was exclusionary and ableist. I dismissed their claims and ultimately went with the language as was proposed. I now realize that was wrong, and I apologize. I do not believe that we were working out of ill faith or bad intent or malice, but rather through unchecked bias. And I apologize for that as well. I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished in 8 years. We've done so much with Standing on the Side of Love, but I think it's time for us to reassess the language we use, the images, the metaphors, and take the courage to find new ways to be and answer the call of love. So I ask the delegation to call the question and support this proposal. Thank you.
So I would like to make an announcement. We have 30 minutes to do all 3 of these. No, hold on. If we're going to stay on time. Yes. If we're going to stay on time, we have 30 minutes to do 3 responsive resolutions. Okay? So I'm just putting the announcement out there so that people know what time we're at and what we're looking at. Because sometimes, yet again, we forget timing. So I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Thank you, Madam Trimod. Wendy Von Corder, for a few more hours, co-chair of the Journey Toward Wholeness Transformation Team, delegate from Marblehead, Massachusetts, and a former member of the UUA Accessibilities Committee. Somebody asked the very good question about does language, this is for a point of clarification. Somebody asked about whether this language and focus on it detracts from our doing. Might we have a brief report from the equal access folks about how it is we're doing in terms of our accessibility sensitivities here at General Assembly?
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Thank you, Tri-Moderator. My name is Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf, and I am the interim minister at May Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society in Syracuse, New York. I offer a point of clarification that SURGE stands for Showing Up for Racial Justice, not Standing Up. Showing Up.
I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
My name is Reverend Jennifer Gray. I serve our congregation in Danville, Indiana, the UU Community Church of Hendricks County, and I'm looking at the 2 lines, and I would like to call the question.
Is there a second? Okay, so we are voting whether or not to vote on the question. So does everyone have their delegate cards ready? Yes. Can my fellow tri-mods help me? This takes 2/3. So all of those in favor of voting on this responsive resolution now, please raise your cards. All those opposed? We're waiting on the final count. 96% in favor, 4% opposed on offline. It passes. All righty, so we're now going to vote. Now we're on the main motion. So here we go. We are now voting on the main motion. And there will be no amendments. All righty. So all those in favor that be it resolved that the 2017 General Assembly call upon the leaders of the UUA Standing on the Side of Love campaign to create a new imagining that better includes and reflects the needs and contributions of disabled people. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All of those opposed? We're waiting on the offsite. Yes. 90% to 10, it passes. One thing done.
Okay, we're going to go to combating income inequality. And I'm going to wait for the offsite delegate queue to clear.
I think she was mistaken about there needing to be a 2/3 majority for calling the question.
And I'm going to recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Robert's Rules of Order I ever
Thank you. My name is Fred Van Duzen, and I'm a member of First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts. I'm the author of this resolution. We have an active group in Concord that's been working on the topic of escalating inequality for the last 3 years. We're quite well grounded on these issues. It's abundantly clear to us that the issues of escalating inequality and white supremacy strongly intersect in their causes and concerns. They're together deeply ingrained in our American culture and need to be worked on together. It will require a huge and well-coordinated strategic effort to make any lasting progress on these issues. It will involve many groups working together effectively to build a large and powerful movement. We need to mobilize, and we need to start soon. It will be very difficult, if not impossible, to do this without credible, well-positioned leadership that's able to pull together the talent, ideas, and strategic relationships necessary to be successful. This week, we've been blessed to observe the ability of the UUA board and staff members to pull together 3 superb temporary co-presidents and many wonderful and knowledgeable speakers and leaders. I'm strongly convinced that if we focus our attention and work together on these critical issues in a well-thought-out, coordinated manner, we can make an enormous difference in this country. This work must be done, and we all can play a major role if we have the courage to do so. I hope we're willing to step out of our comfort zones, I certainly am now, and do this terribly important work. The work that we do externally will help us with the work we need to do internally. They're synergistic. I ask you to approve this resolution.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Peter Candace, UU Congregation of the Low Country in South Carolina. I would ask the moderators in another instance, if we have called the vote, to let the delegates know that we're then not going to be able to vote on the amendments. I think that may well influence the vote. Thank you.
So noted. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Hi, it's Karen Griffin again from Venice, Florida. I have a question on this proposal. I'm still concerned that we are not addressing the issues of the cultural biases in our own congregations when it comes to income inequity. And is this work that you're asking a commission to lead on externally focused or also internally focused to deal with our own cultural biases within our congregations?
I recognize the delegate at the pro mic to answer the question.
Yeah, it's Fred Van Duzen again. I think we're pretty well focused. This is meant to be both, actually. In a sense, I think the external focus will help our internal focus. By working on these issues both internally and externally at the same time, I think that actually helps both.
Okay, is there going to...
I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
It's me again, Karen. Is there going to be an intentional work within the congregations to deal with cultural biases within the congregations? I mean, are we calling for intentional work?
I think that's part of the other work that's going on here in this whole GA. So this was specifically to make sure we were doing something externally as well. Okay?
Okay.
I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic.
This is from Dave Michael, East Shore Unitarian Universalist Church in Kirkland, Ohio. Move to change the rules, change the 15-minute discussion rule before amendments to 10 minutes.
I'm going to take a little break, talk with my parliamentary team. I know what to do. I just need to give a response. The motion is in order. It takes a 2/3 majority vote to amend the rules. So we will be doing that now. All those in favor of amending the rules, do we have a second? There we go. All right. It's not debatable. This takes a 2/3 majority vote in order to amend the rules so that there is a 10-minute discussion timeline as opposed to 15-minute discussion timeline. All those in favor of amending the rules for a shorter time frame, please raise your voting cards now. All those opposed? I'm waiting on the off-site delegates. They're still getting some things in. They've asked me for a longer delay period. Okay, please close the queue for the off-site delegates. Okay, the motion to amend the rules passes. We will now have 10 minutes of discussion before we move to the ability to make amendments. Everyone understand? All right, awesome. I recognize the delegate at the con microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Buckingham from the Frederick, Maryland UU congregation. While I am in support of the the activity we've taken on economic inequality at this session, after lots of debate and work, I feel that this is not the time for us to single out economic inequity because it is part of a intersectionality with racism and other issues. We have a new administration taking office now. They will need to get the guidance and leadership from affected communities before they decide how to approach helping congregations with this work. I believe that this is an unnecessary additional step to isolate economic inequity and not treat it as part of the greater cultural intersectionality that this whole subject of this General Assembly has been. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the pro microphone.
My name is Earl Daniels. I am a delegate from High Street Unitarian Universalist in Macon, Georgia. We do a lot of great work at GA, and then we all go back home, and oftentimes smaller congregations like mine have a difficult time in actually implementing some of these projects and resolutions and to fulfill the intentions. I would like this resolution to pass so that we have an extra impetus to have people designated and people very intentional about going to the congregations and giving them the help they need to do this work. Thank you.
All right, before I recognize the delegate at the con microphone, Again, a simple reminder that we have about 10 minutes to do the remaining 2 responsive resolutions without extending time. So keep that in your mind as you do that. I now recognize the delegate at the con microphone.
Marie Cobbs, First Unitarian Society of Chicago. The Statement of Conscience draft, it doesn't mention, it does not address the root cause of inequality or its impact on democracy. It does not challenge our current economic system. Only cities' wealth inequality, not income inequality. And I think that's one of the reasons I have to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural microphone.
Lisa Bickford, Jefferson Unitarian Church in Golden, Colorado. I move to extend time as the last one is the most important in my book.
By how much does the delegate wish to extend time?
I do not have that on the...
Okay, if the delegate could come back with that, I'll give you a second. I have someone else in the off-site line, so I'll come back to that person, and then you'll be third in line after that, okay? I recognize the delegate at the procedural microphone.
Michael Scott, First Universalist, Rochester, New York. Could someone from the CSW briefly remind us what the normal procedure is for implementing a statement of conscience and how that procedure would be changed by this current proposal?
Do we have a commissioner in the House? Will you come to the pro mic? Right. I recognize the commissioner at the pro microphone to respond to the delegate's question.
Hi, Reverend Caitlin Cotter of the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara and outgoing Commissioner of Social Witness. As I understand it, oh, and here's our chair right there at the other microphone. So my understanding is that this would not significantly alter our process, as everything is a recommendation, and this would be only a statement of this body, whereas the statement of conscience is a statement on behalf of Unitarian Universalism that went through a 4-year process. Susan, am I right in that?
I recognize the commissioner at the procedural mic.
Yeah, the statement of conscience has been adopted by this body and is, so basically is in effect as the position of the Unitarian Universalist Association broadly. The process is a 4-year study action process. There is one more year that's called an implementation year. At this time, during this year, the idea is to encourage congregations, because it is congregational study action, to look at what the suggested actions are within it and to take action and do it. So, but there are not staff resources any more than just some minimal staff support. So I'm not sure whether this resolution is asking for something more substantial.
Thank you. Before I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic, can the teller tell me if it is the same off-site delegate?
Yes.
All right. We also need some clarity on whether it's adjournment time or time for discussion. We have not yet reached the 30 minutes allotted for discussion on this issue. So if your motion is to extend the adjournment time, our rules say that we are to adjourn by 3:45 p.m. today. So if that is the motion you're making, we have not yet run out of time for this. I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic.
Lisa Bickford, Jefferson Unitarian Church in Golden, Colorado. I move to extend time to 30 minutes per responsive resolution.
That's not in order at this time because 30 minutes for each responsive resolution has already been allotted. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
My name is Reverend Amy Williams Clark. I serve our congregation at Cedarhurst Unitarian Universalist, and I am speaking in favor of this because there's intersectionality in between poverty, homelessness, economic, as well as racism, sexism, and militarism and environmentalism. It's an intersectional piece. It's an important piece to be talking about and to be studying, and in some ways, even more importantly, it's a sign to our partners throughout the country in social justice work that this is something we are serious about and we want to talk about.
I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
Hi, Sally Gellert, Central Unitarian, Paramus, New Jersey. I rise to speak against this motion or this resolution. I believe that there are many organizations who have this totally under control. 99 Rise, Backbone Campaign, Move to Amend, Anti-Poverty Network in New Jersey. I'm sure you guys have local ones. Our state advocacy organizations in those states that have them surely have partners, and I don't see the particular value. We also have UUs for Just Economic Community. Go there. Thank you.
I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic.
Kathy Ron Starr from Unitarian Society of Hartford, Connecticut. I'm not sure if it's in order to call the question at this point. If it is, then I call the question.
You've got another 3 minutes, Kathy. All right, I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
My name is Amy Leona from the Unitarian Universalist Church in Livermore, California. I am strongly in support of this statement of conscience. I believe it is a vital step towards creating a more economically just community and society. It's only a step, but it's something that we need to start working on as an association, as individual congregations as well. The document does address intersectionality of economic inequality with racism, sexism, and ability as well. So I just urge to support this, and I believe it is just a step that we all need to start working on and continuing, and to take each of these. There's a list of options you can take and ways you can address these issues within your congregations and in society, and I urge everyone to take those to heart, to take those back to their communities as well.
I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
Reverend Dr. Finley C. Campbell, First Unitarian Church of Chicago, and also a member of UJEC. I rise to object and to call people to vote against this proposal because it gives an authority to the Board of Trustees and the new leadership, which I don't think they deserve. I believe that the confusion and disarray that has been manifested around
You
the
are
issue
not
of
speaking
white,
to the merits of the resolution any
and
longer.
therefore,
Do you
because
have any other reason that you wish not to have this resolution passed? Okay.
The other reason is that it's a neo-racist document because it refers to giving money to black businesses, black communities, rather than strictly to the poor and oppressed communities. They are the one who needs it, not those who are part of the national bourgeoisie of this country. They don't need it. In fact, it's a waste of time to give it to them. We must specify more clearly oppressed black communities. Black businesses like McDonald's and others are dangerous forces of dietary poisoning in our communities. Why should we give them more money? The whole issue of inequality is grounded in a capitalist system, and the word capitalism does not even appear in the main document. In addition, by mixing in white supremacy, a false doctrine, rather than sticking with the word institutionalized racism, this fatally flaws this idea. We will take parts of it, certainly, back to our congregation because we fought very hard for a version that would be more inclusive. Black community, black businesses, etc., is already privileging privileging an aspect, and by eliminating the word working class, black working class communities, we give carte blanche to very wealthy black capitalists. Thank you.
I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Marcus Filiano, Peoria, Illinois, Universalist Unitarian Church. I was asking a point of clarification. We made a motion to shorten the time for amendments to 10 minutes. You had mentioned that we only needed 3 more minutes to to call the question. So I'd like to make a motion that we set that at 10 minutes as well. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm going to consult. I want to give you a full answer, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Marcus, is your question whether you can also call the question after 10 minutes?
Yes, yes.
That's correct. You can call the question after 10 minutes. That's what we did when we shortened the amount of time required for discussion.
We did that for amendments.
We did that all together.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Hi, Nikki Moore, UU of Marblehead, Mass. Sorry, let me say that again. Can you hear? I'm short. Sorry. Hi, Nikki Moore of UU Marblehead. I propose that we limit any off-topic subjects just immediately so that we're not wasting much more time here.
The chair acknowledges the ability to be more assertive and keeping us on topic.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Greg.
I recognize the commissioner at the procedural mic.
This is Susan Geckler. I'm actually delegate from the UUs of Southern Delaware. Just want to clarify that we have already adopted the statement of conscience itself, and that's not the resolution that is under consideration. So discussion about the content of the statement isn't really appropriate at this point.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else at the procedural mic they're discussing? All right. I recognize the delegation at the pro mic.
It's 2-people delegation. I'm Carolina Crevard-Graham from Church of the Larger Fellowship. I'm also on the steering committee of Allies for Racial Equity, and we have been in consultation with our accountability partner, DRUM. We would really, really urge you to support this. Although the language might not be perfect, the intent is there, and I think the language, we have full confidence that the language is going to make its way into what it really needs to be. So we really, really urge you to support this. Thank you very much.
I recognize the delegate at the amendment mic.
Thank you, Moderator Boyd. I am Deborah Gray Boyd, but not related to you, and from the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus, Ohio. I am here today because I am struggling with the depth and the complexity of things that already exist at the Unitarian Universalist Association, and so I move to strike the phrase "to appoint a committee." We have enough committees. I'm serving on one of your committees, and I'm grateful to do that. But we have enough committees. We have a fabulous Unitarian Universalist staff. We have an amazing Unitarian Universalist board. And so this body can call on those folks directly without creating yet another layer for us to move through. It is my opinion that having so many different groups assigned to different smaller tasks is not in our best interest. And so I therefore ask this body to strike to appoint a committee.
Okay. All right. Do we have that up on the screen? All right. Right, there we go. All right, we have the amendment moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? If you would like to discuss the amendment, I need to see folks line up at the pro or con microphones. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Very briefly, considering this calls on our existing staff to help us out, I withdraw my move on the con mic, and if this passes, I think it's a good thing.
Anyone speaking against? All right, it sounds like you're ready to vote on this amendment. All right, this is a simple majority. All those in favor of striking the words committee, can I get that back up on screen, please? All those in favor of striking to appoint a committee from this responsive resolution, please indicate that by raising your delegate cards now. All those opposed? Can we bring up the offsite? Please close the offsite queue. That passes. All right, can I have it back up on screen as amended? There we go. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Robin Stillwater from Fourth Universalist in New York City. I would like a point of clarification. The motion that we voted on a few moments ago to shorten the time when you can start making amendments to 10 minutes, the wording of that was to shorten the time to allow amendments to be made, not motions to table, refer, or to call the question. If the wording was intended to shorten the time also for allowing motions, tabling, referring, and calling the questions, I would have voted differently. However, the wording of the motion did not reflect that. And I would like a clarification on what exactly we voted on.
The ruling of the tri-moderator is that the intent of the amendment time is to make sure that you also have enough time to properly discuss the issue. So by consequence of shortening the amount of time needed to make an amendment, we also shortened the amount of time we required for discussion.
Well, I would agree, just point of clarification, on the motion that we already voted on, that now the wording and understanding of is being changed for. Allowing time for amendments before we allow time for calling the question allows wording to be changed in ways that disrupt the pattern of having things move quickly, expediency, and therefore helps disrupt the patterns of patriarchy and white supremacy. And therefore, I disagree with the motion that I voted on earlier, and I disagree with that ruling. And actually, as far as Robert's Rules of Order go, what we voted on is what we voted on.
Do I hear a motion to overturn the ruling of the chair? Motion to overturn the ruling of the tri-moderators and to re-adopt the actual wording of the motion that we voted on. There is a second. This is debatable. Would anyone like to speak in favor or against overturning the ruling of the tri-moderators? Unless you have an additional statement to make in favor of that, do you need to speak again to?
Well, I mean,
I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Robin, still from Fourth Universalist. I don't think this should need a motion. I am asking us to follow Robert's Rules of Order and to have the wording be what we voted on. It shouldn't need a motion. That should just be, if we're going to follow Roberts, that should just be how it is.
I understand. The tri-moderators made a ruling about that interpretation, and so now the way to overturn that is by making the appropriate motion, which you have done. All right? Okay. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Still Robin from Fourth U?
No, not you. The one behind you. You already spoke in favor of this.
My name is Gigi Gordon. I'm from the Marquette Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Marquette, Michigan. I speak in favor of the proposal because income inequality.
This is not in order right now. We are speaking in favor or against overturning the ruling of the chair.
I apologize.
Mm-hmm. I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
David Shea, Valley UU, Chandler, Arizona. The advantage of just reducing the time for amendments then allows folks to make amendments before everyone lines up to call for the question. During the entire time we've been here, that was the first time we've had an amendment. I've seen lots of people not be able to make amendments. So it's essentially a motion for fairness. Thank you.
All right. I need a quick clarification. I have an off-site delegate at the con microphone. Is that an off-site delegate speaking to the motion to overturn the ruling of the chair?
Yes, it is.
All right, I recognize the off-site delegate at the con mic.
The off-site delegate's name is Abigail Humphreys, First Unitarian Church, Toledo, Ohio. I am a delegate from First Unitarian Church, Toledo, Ohio. I think we should embrace the intent of the tri-moderators and honor their ruling.
I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
Erin White from Fourth Universalist, and I am in favor of overruling the finding of the interpretation, of the tri-moderate, because I did think that we were voting specifically with respect to amendments, because there's been difficulty in making amendments in this General Assembly. And I know that, for instance, I was standing on the last resolution and unable to make an amendment that the author of that resolution was in support of because of the rule that required me to wait 15 minutes but allowed for the motion be called before any amendments could be made or proposed. And I found that very exclusive, and I find it not at all ironic that in a motion about inclusivity, I was excluded from participating in that conversation. And so I strongly urge that we reconsider and overrule the finding of the tri-moderate with all respect. Thank you.
All right. Is the delegate at the con mic speaking to overturning the ruling of the chair? All right. I recognize the delegate at the con mic.
My name is Mary Beth Spencer from Mount Diablo UU Church in Walnut Creek, California. And I would like to have us able to discuss all of the things that we want to discuss today and get through all of the things we want to discuss today. And I know that our time is at a premium. We have discussed, we did get to vote on the shortening the time, and I think that we do need to figure out how we're going to limit ourselves. I was under the impression, and I think a lot of us were under the impression, that we were voting to make some expediency decisions. And so we're going to have to cut time somewhere. And we did vote to amend Robert's rules, and I think that that is what we did today.
I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Hi, Mr. Troy Moderator, I think the wrong clock is running down. I think we should be on an amendment clock, not the motion clock. I came over here at 15:27.
Okay, well, I'll check that out in a second. Did you have a...
That was my point of information and checking on process.
Okay, I'll check on the clock. All right, seeing no other folks in line for... Oh, okay. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
This is David Michael, who is East Shore Unitarian Universalist Church in Kirkland, Ohio, the maker of the motion that is being discussed. My original, a point of clarification, my original intent for the motion was to give time for amendments before calling the question.
All right, could I hear that again?
This was the maker of the motion who says, my original intent for the motion was to give time for amendments before calling the question.
The tri-moderators hear you. We will make it so that it's 10 minutes before amendments, but still 15 minutes before discussion.
Bravo.
Does the delegate who made the motion to overturn the ruling of the chair withdraw the motion? Thank you, Robin.
Bravo! Excellent.
Leon, it's time to sing. Yes, you, Leon, little old Leon. It's time for us to sing.
I'm sorry, I was caucusing with some of my fellow musicians.
It happens.
Could I ask the tech deck to please get ready, gentle, angry? Marcus, where are you, Marcus? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we'll put it up and we'll just sing it a cappella. Gentle Angry. Gentle Angry 170. Look on my thing. Give me an F. One. All right. Everyone, are we have words up? All right. Let's go. All right. Ready? And we go. And we are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. Keep it coming. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. This is with the permission of the composer. We are gay, straight, trans together, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay, straight, trans together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives.
Thank you so much, Leon. Please take your seats. We want to get to more singing, don't we, everyone? So we have to be out of this space by no later than 3:45 p.m. We have a new president that we elected. We want to install that person. We have new people that we elected to other elected offices that we want to install. And to do that, we have to get through our process. So how much more time do you want to spend discussing resolutions you basically want to pass? All right? How much time do you need to discuss something you want to do? I recognize the delegate at the pro mic.
I apologize. I just don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I'm Gigi Gordon. I speak on behalf of the Marquette, Michigan Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I support this resolution because I think anything we can do to elevate the visibility of the issue of economic inequality that's so integral to all of the other issues we've discussed is vital. Somebody earlier said that this issue is well in hand, but I hear very few candidates for local, state, or federal office talking about the issue, and they should be. So I am in favor of this.
And I actually have an off-site delegate at the procedural mic first. I recognize the off-site delegate at the procedural mic.
This is Amy Young, West Shore UU Church in Cleveland, Ohio. If we have time to sing, we have time to leave voting open for a full 90 seconds for off-site delegates who are experiencing lags that result in not getting the voting option to pop up before voting closes. Please set a clock for 90 seconds when you open the voting for those of us who cannot listen in on the teleconference. Several of us have auditory disabilities and need the captions in the video feed to follow along.
Tech deck, do you hear that? I need 90 seconds. I need a message when we've reached the 90-second mark. Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedural mic.
Matthew Mason, Board President of UU Fellowship, Stanislaus County. I would like to call the question.
This motion is in order as we have had the appropriate amount of elapsed time. It is not debatable. It takes 2/3 majority. All those in favor of ending debate so that we can vote on this responsive resolution, please indicate by raising your delegate cards now. All those opposed? And I'm waiting for a message from the tech deck for the off-site delegates. You can bring that screen up, though. I need to get a message from the tech deck. All right, that clearly passes. Can I get the text of the responsive resolution as amended on the screen? Thank you. This is what we're voting on. This takes a 2/3 majority vote in order to pass. I'll read it.
So I'm too late. That's okay.
Whereas, I'll start with the title, Combating Escalating Inequality, whereas Tom Andrews of the UUSC said that he cannot think of a time when UU values were more under attack than they are today. Whereas Mr. Andrews exhorted us to take vigorous and sustained action to protect and further those values. Whereas the delegates of this 2017 General Assembly approved a statement of conscience regarding escalating income inequality, whereas the causes of escalating inequality intersect with the effects of white supremacy, therefore be it resolved that the 2017 General Assembly calls on the UUA Board of Trustees and UUA staff to help coordinate, strategize, and advise congregations on how to address effectively these deep-seated cultural issues. In order to pass, this requires a 2/3 majority vote. We will wait until we hear from the off-site delegates. If you are in favor of the responsive resolution as amended, please indicate by raising your delegate cards now. All those opposed? Bring up the off-site delegates. We don't call for abstentions because if you did not vote in favor or against, I assume you abstained. The motion clearly passes.
Okay, good afternoon. We are now ready to vote on adding language to the UUA bylaws relating to an eighth principle. The study commission. Going to telling a study commission we want them to consider this language. I need to see the text of the, thank you. So in the spirit of making sure you all know what you're voting on, appointment of a study commission to consider adding an eighth principle to Article 2, Principles and Purposes. Whereas the interim co-president's report and the report of the Board of Trustees both address the issues of white supremacy and intersecting forms of oppression. And whereas the delegates of the 2017 General Assembly believe that such issues are sufficiently important to be specifically addressed in the UUA bylaws, principles, and purposes. Therefore, be it resolved that the delegates to the 2017 General Assembly call for the board to appoint a study commission to discuss adding an 8th principle that may be, as stated below, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. The moderator recognizes the speaker at the pro mic.
My name is Bruce Pollock Johnson. Paula Cole Jones and I wrote this resolution and the 8th principle. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a delegate from UU Church of the Restoration in Philadelphia. At this historic revolutionary GA, we've been reminded to focus on what really matters and on having an impact. Dr. Sanyika has reminded us that UUism has a beautiful, universal theology and vision of beloved community that has a deep appeal to people of color and those from other oppressed groups. Our phenomenal presidents have reminded us that our practices have often not lived up to this vision, and they have modeled the kind of radical action needed to correct those shortcomings, which our new president has pledged to continue. Race is the issue behind the 2 major crises of our association. Dr. Sanyika has come back home and offered us a unique opportunity for reconciliation and redemption, an amazing gift. The 8th principle was conceived by Paula Cole Jones because our current UU reality is that someone can believe they are living the 7 principles, but not spend any time thinking about or acting to dismantle systemic white supremacy or other oppressions. Our current 7 principles do not explicitly mention beloved community, or love in any form, or accountability. They do not remind us that this work is necessary to move ourselves towards spiritual wholeness. Our 1997 resolution was not enough to keep our eyes on this prize. Our UU principles are what we all refer to mentally as the core of who we are. The language of the 8th principle is the language we have been hearing and using throughout this amazing GA. Let's codify it as a constant reminder to ourselves of what we are truly all about. Action toward justice is an essential spiritual component of UUism.
Okay. Thank you.
We all need to work very hard and do uncomfortable.
Thank you. I'd like to remind delegates that we now have about a half hour for all of our closing ceremonies, including installation of our officers. I would like to suggest that if there's any amendment type language or clarification or anything of that sort, you're welcome to email that to board@uua.org. Please keep in mind that these responsive resolutions do not have force and effect of law. They are not binding. And so spending a lot of time crafting language may not be the best use of our time if you want to see the closing ceremonies occur. Now it's up to you. If you want to spend the next half hour debating, we can do that, but then we won't have any closing ceremonies. We won't be able to acknowledge our new officers. The moderator recognizes the delegate at the procedural microphone.
Hi, my name is Sharon Gray from All Faiths Unitarian Congregation in Fort Myers, Florida. And I've sat through workshops and I've sat through business sessions, and I thought I heard that any time some amendment or proposed amendment is going to go to a special commission or committee to study, that all of the principles and all of the purposes will also be reviewed.
That is correct.
And I want to confirm that because there were some principles that did not get voted upon this time, and we were told that if anything was submitted to that commission, they all would be reviewed.
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you.
The moderator recognizes the delegate at the procedural microphone.
Thank you. Carl Ponanen from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing. I was excited to hear earlier today the moderator announced that the Board of Trustees will be appointing a commission to look at all of Article 2. So my question, my point of information, if you could clarify, this resolution, does it create a separate study commission? Does it modify the function of the study commission that's already going to be in place, or does it do something else entirely, and if so, what?
Okay. I'm going to look to the makers of the motion, but I understand your intent is to simply direct the study commission that the board will create to specifically address this issue and make sure there's language in there. Encourage there's language to be in there.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay. The moderator recognizes the delegate at the con mic.
Marie Cobbs, First Unitarian Society of Chicago. The First Unitarian Society of Chicago is opposed to the addition of the eighth principle as proposed by the Black Lives of Unitarian Universalists Organizing Collective without the 2 or 3 year period normally required for such a change, and we further recommend to our delegates to the 2017 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association that they vote against any attempt to bypass this normal procedure.
Okay, this is not a bypassing of normal procedure. There are a number of avenues for bylaws amendments to be considered. The moderator recognizes the delegate at the pro mic.
My name is Denny Davidoff. I'm a delegate from the Unitarian Church in Westport, Connecticut. It's 1981 in June, and the General Assembly is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I, the newly elected president of the Unitarian Universalist Women's Federation, am standing at a pro mic to begin the process of creating a commission to study our principles so that the subject of feminism can be entered into our principles. And 4 years later, in 1985, that was in Atlanta, we have what is pretty much our principles right now, which is not only to say this is deja vu all over again, but is to strongly, for my own biases, agree that we should probably, yes, we should have an eighth principle on this subject that we were not even thinking about in 1981, more's the pity. So I speak in favor of this resolution, which I hope will be passed swiftly. And I speak also to my contention that the inclusion of an eighth principle should be encompassed into a review of all the principles and indeed all the bylaws. That would be an amendment, but I hope we don't get that far today.
The moderator recognizes the delegate at the procedural microphone.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Jasmine Walston, First Unitarian Church, Louisville, Kentucky. I would like to move to amend the rules to allow us to call the question immediately.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that requires a 2/3 vote. Debatable?
That's all right.
And non-debatable. All those in favor of amending the rules so we can call the question after 5 minutes? Immediately. Sorry, thank you for clarifying. Okay, off-site delegates, Tech Deck, give me a signal when we're ready for them. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay, I'm assuming we're looking at yeses and nos in the House and text out externally separately. Okay, in the House and online, any opposed? Okay, all right, we have our external outside, offline delegates voting 86% in favor, 14% opposed. The motion carries, and now we can call the question after 5 minutes, right? No. Immediately. I've got the 5-minute rule in front of me, sorry. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we've just changed the rules.
Madam
The moderator recognizes the delegate at the procedural microphone.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Still Jasmine Walston, still First Unitarian Church, Louisville, Kentucky. I call the question.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of calling the question and moving to a vote, raise your voting cards. Okay. Are there any opposed? Looking to the tech deck for the off-site results. Yeah, we're waiting.
Well, this is the end of the UUA as we knew it.
Okay, the motion clearly carries. So now we are on the main motion unamended. All those in favor of the proposed responsive resolution, raise your voting cards. Okay, and all those opposed? And we're waiting on off-site delegates. Okay, the motion clearly carries.